sleep reducer. Oh no. Well, now I might have
And I think that's just got some wrinkles that still need to be ironed out. So if you're streaming with us right now, I don't think you are. I apologize. I think our folks who are Zooming with us can hear the service, hopefully. So we'll check in with you in just a second. But first, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. And welcome to one and all. As always, we embrace all that you bring with you, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, all that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. And this is so for those who are in the room with us, of course, as well as those who are online with us, especially including our Zoomers. So, Shelley gave me the thumbs up. So we're streaming. Yes, is that what the thumbs up means? Thank you, Shelley, and thanks to tech support. So if you are streaming, didn't give up, welcome. Glad to have you guys with us. Thanks for hanging on. And Shelley's got the Zoom up. This meeting is being recorded. Got it? Yeah. Hey, Shelley, would you hit that got it on the computer? Oh, okay. I'll say it slowly. Hey, Shelley, will you please? Oh, thank you. Oh, that was lightning speed. I didn't even finish what I was saying. It's like you're reading my mind. Terry? Oh, we can't hear you. There we go.
Really well. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes, you're doing well.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Well, we're doing well. We have about 17 people here this morning, and we've used the time when we were waiting to learn all about upcoming activities this coming month in the new year of our church life. And I just wanted to say a special invitation to a couple, Reverend Dowd's. We're going to watch his talks on video and then have a discussion. And we're hosting the Spokane group is hosting that, and we're inviting especially the face-to-face members at Spokane so that we can get to know each other. Over this past year that we've been meeting on Zoom, we've gotten to know each other and made some new friends, and so we're anxious to enlarge our online circle by having some of the Spokane congregation join us. So you'll read about that in this sunny newsletter coming out. So I hope you come. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate that, and appreciate you all of the various events you and others who are largely members like yourself doing things outside of Spokane to that benefit all of us. So thanks for all you're doing. And welcome to all of you who are on Zoom this morning.
And with
yeah, good. Okay.
From Spokane.
All right, good. I can see everybody. As I turn around, you guys get to see my good side, and I can see your good sides as well. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so let us take a couple of minutes now to greet one another. I know you've probably been doing some of that on Zoom today already, a little bit of extra time, but we'll give our folks here in the room a chance to say hello to each other this morning as well. Okay, and as always, please stay around after the service for social hour where you can visit with one another more. But let's move forward now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
For the opening reflection, I invite you to consider the words of Lama Surya Das. With every breath, the old moment is lost, a new moment arrives. We exhale and we let go of the old moment. It is lost to us. In doing so, we let go of the person we used to be. We inhale and breathe in the moment that is becoming. In doing so, we welcome the person we are becoming. We repeat the process. This is renewal. This is life.
Please stand and join me for Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire, number 34. Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not begin by love within, and the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
Will now kindle check, check. There we go. Thank you, Shelley. We will now kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning. And we're going to begin with a candle, as we have been, on behalf of the people of Ukraine and that region of the world who continue to suffer just unnecessary violence and cruelty and destruction and all that mayhem that is going on there. And of course, I know there are a lot of other people and places today that we could be kindling candles for. We would probably be here all day if I mentioned those each Sunday, so I won't. But we are going to have our usual moment of silence to embrace those that you might be thinking of, and you'd be welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out in the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la. La 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 la. After 2 days in the desert sun, my skin began to turn red. After 3 days in the desert fun, I was looking at a riverbed. And the story it told of a river that flowed made me sad to think it was dead. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Thank you so much. I think I just want to sit and listen to you the rest of the service, if that's okay. But I know you're not prepared for it. So, all right, today is an extra special story for all ages, because we've solved one of life's biggest questions, one of our biggest mysteries. In case you were wondering, yes, he is real. Please welcome Bigfoot. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. Well, very good to see you. We're thrilled that you're here, Bigfoot. And we're all curious. Would you tell us a little bit about where exactly it is you come from? Well, I come from within the woods, where giant trees touch the sky and animals roam freely. It's serene. It's beautiful, man. Okay, well, it sounds amazing, but now that you're here in the city, I'm reminded of a story of a city mouse and a country mouse. Have you heard of it? I don't think so. Would I like nice? Please share it with us, would you? Well, okay, so a long, long ago, there were 2 mice. One lived in the peaceful countryside, and the other was in the bustling city, and each mouse was curious about the other's life. The country mouse invited his city cousin to come over first. Well, that was nice. So very nice, but unfortunately, the city mouse was not so impressed with the simple food or the quiet life of the country mouse. He said, "You must come and see the riches in the city, cousin. There's so much to do and to eat." So the country mouse went into the city. He was amazed at all the fine foods and luxuries, but he also saw dangers and annoyances like cats and noise. The peace and quiet of the country started to seem very appealing. Say, that story reminds me of our own lives, does it? Yes, the forest, nigh home, is peaceful, but it has its own challenges. It has fresh air and streams and lots of nice animals, friends, but it can be lonely at times. I see, that must be why you're here. That's right. Well, here in the city, we also have a lot of things happening. Just like the city mouse experience, there's always something new, some places to go, friends to hang out with. But it's not always calm and quiet. Sometimes we miss the serenity that nature has to offer. You know, the story of those two knights teaches us that neither life is perfect, is it? Well, that's true. Both the city and the countryside have their qualities and their challenges. Yes, I guess it's all about where you feel most at home. Well, that's true, Bigfoot, and it's important to remember that neither is better or worse, they're just different. We can learn so much from each other's experiences, no matter how different we are. Yes, and you're welcome to come to visit my home anytime. Well, thank you, and please come back and visit our city whenever you'd like. Well, until then, please remember to tread softly and leave few footprints wherever you go. Thank you, Bigfoot. I've been wondering, next week we're going to have a visit from a UFO.
For the meditation this morning, words from Kevin Aucoin. Every morning when I wake up, I can choose joy, happiness, negativity, pain, to feel the freedom that comes from being able to continue to make mistakes and choices. Today, I choose to feel life, not to deny my humanity, but to embrace it.
If you want money in your pocket and a top hat on your head, hot meal on the table and a blanket on your bed, well, today is gray skies, tomorrow is tears. You have to wait till yesterday is here. Well, I'm going to New York City and I'm leaving on a train. And If you want to stay behind and wait till I come back again, well, today is gray skies, tomorrow is tears. You have to wait till yesterday is here. If you want to go where the rainbows end, you have to say goodbye. All your dreams come true, baby, up ahead, and it's out where your memories lie. Well, the road is out before me, the moon is shining bright. What I want you to remember as I disappear tonight. Today is gray skies, tomorrow is tears. You have to wait till yesterday is here. If you want to go where the rainbows end, have to say goodbye. All your dreams come true, baby, up ahead, and it's out where your memories lie. The road is out before me, the moon is shining bright. What I want you to remember as I disappear tonight. Today is gray skies, tomorrow is tears. You have to wait till yesterday is here.
Thank you again. Shelley, I'm going to ask, are these lights on dimmer? They're just a little bright. I don't know if it's because it's dark outside and they're just appearing to be more light inside than usual, but they're kind of blinding. There. Is that okay? Oh, now where'd everybody go? Those ones are okay. It was just those center ones. Yeah. You can illuminate me. Thank you. Okay. No, it's those in the center. Just those four right there. They're just kind of like taking the place of the cans. Thank you. Yeah, place of the sun. I don't know what they're called. Anyway, I'll just look down at my script. That's okay. You might recognize these words. Born a poor young country boy, Mother Nature's son. All day long I'm sitting singing songs for everyone. Sit beside a mountain stream, see her waters rise. Listen to the pretty sound of music as she flies. Find me in my field of grass, Mother Nature's son. Swaying daisies sing a lazy song beneath the sun. Whoa, Mother Nature's son. These are the lyrics to the Beatles' 1968 hit Mother Nature's Son, which was also sung by John Denver and became the title of a biography about his life after his death. It expresses an ancient yet enduring sentiment people have always imagined about those living closest to nature, about its ease, happy, and peaceful their lives were. Sitting, listening, and singing lazy songs beside a mountain stream or lying in a field of grass beneath the sun. If only we could all get back to that, then life would be good. Life would be as it should be. We would be what we are meant to be. Indeed, this is how it was, or at least how we imagine it was, throughout most of human history. Modern humans have been around for 200 to 250,000 years, but human civilization has been around just the past 5,000 to 6,000 years, a fraction of the time. Since the advent of agriculture enabled us to grow and store food, liberating us from our nomadic hunter-gatherer existence. During the past century, most human beings have migrated from the countryside into cities, which has led to the sudden increase in megacities with over 10 million people. In 1973, there were only 3 megacities. In fact, the third city had just become a megacity. Today, there are 37 megacities, with 9 more within a few 100,000 residents of becoming so. We miss nature. We miss it so much that our national parks are overcrowded with visitors who must now, in some cases, be granted limited access. So many of us are leaving for the countryside on our weekends that we're creating hour-long traffic jams away from and back to our congested metropolises. So much for finding peace and solitude. The stress going to and fro can be worse than staying in the city to begin with. Yet, as gigantic as our modern cities have become, this idealization of the country life has been around almost as long as civilization itself. Psychologist Erich Fromm believed that the development of the human race, as far as we have any knowledge of it, can be characterized as the emergence of man from nature, from mother, from the bonds of blood and soil. Yet man, meaning humanity, has never been satisfied with this separation. In the beginning of human history, man, though thrown out of the original unity with nature, still clings to these primary bonds, Fromm says. He finds his security by going back or holding to those primary bonds. He still feels identified with the world of animals and trees and tries to find unity by remaining one with the natural world. Well, that would explain our mad rush into the wilderness and parks in our spare time, as well as prove that this impulse is ancient. But if we add to this Plato's influential rejection of the real for the ideal, we might also consider that what we think is true of nature might be based on an unreal, idealized image of what abandoning civilization truly means. His mentor Socrates was renowned for eschewing comfort, and people marveled at his indifference to extreme cold, heat, hunger, and thirst, a reputation Plato emphasized and perhaps exaggerated in his writings about Socrates. Whether his reputation for dressing simply, going shoeless on snow and ice, and standing for hours outdoors in one spot quietly thinking were entirely true or not, Socrates became the inspiration for 4 philosophical schools: Epicureanism, Stoicism, skepticism, and the one I want to focus on with some intention is cynicism. When we hear the word cynic today, we think of somebody who is innately dubious or critical of most things, a rather pessimistic sort. But in the Greek language, cynic means canine. Cynics were people who may not have appreciated being treated like dogs, but their intention was to live like dogs by avoiding all the comforts of civilization in order to live naturally like other animals. If they were cynical by today's definition, they were cynical of living a civilized life. The reason they chose the dog as their symbol rather than some wild animal is precisely because it is an animal that has become domesticated. The cynics wanted to free themselves from the trappings of domestic living by returning to a natural state, whether such was a real or imagined state. Cynicism was inspired by a philosopher named Antisthenes, another disciple of Socrates. After the death of his mentor, something changed in Antisthenes, and he came, as Bertrand Russell explains, to despise the things he had formerly valued. This meant, as Russell goes on to explain, he would have nothing but simple goodness. Nothing but simple goodness. Did you know that was a choice? He associated with working men and dressed as one of them. He took to open-air preaching in a style that the uneducated could understand. All refined philosophy he held to be worthless. What could be known by the plain man. He believed in the return to nature and carried this belief very far. His student, Diogenes, the official founder of cynicism, took his teacher's near hatred of luxury even further. His father had gone to prison for defacing coinage, and in his footsteps, Diogenes renounced all money. He decided to live like a dog, Russell says. He rejected all conventions, whether of religion, of manners, of dress, of housing, of food, or of decency. One is told that he lived in a tub. Cynics in general were known for going about naked, sleeping outdoors, eating raw food, and other uncivilized behaviors. According to Professor A.C. Grayling's recent history of philosophy, Diogenes' chief tenet was that one should live simply and naturally, indeed like a dog, and he accordingly urinated and defecated anywhere in public. Ate, and that's when they didn't have those little baggies to go around, He ate whenever he happened to feel hungry and observed no taboos about what could be eaten, including taking food from the temple sacrifices. Diogenes was against all convention and believed happiness comes from returning to a natural state, by which he meant, according to Grayling, living and acting without shame, shamelessly, and spurning the laws of society and the state wherever they conflict with the simple, natural, truly virtuous life. Compared to today's nearly 46 megacities, we would think the ancient Athenians were already close enough to nature. But even then, many longed to escape the trappings of civilization and believed that returning to the natural way of life would make them happy, and that comfort, luxury, and convenience was making them miserable. If I were to say as much from a psychological point of view rather than a philosophical one, I'd say they long to return to a primitive state of mind, into an unconscious kind of existence, to live less like domesticated dogs and more like some wild beast. But humanity, for the most part, did not return to nature. And civilization continued to advance, and as the cynics may have predicted, would soon experience nearly 1,000 years of misery and stagnation. But was this civilization's fault? Or because civilized people had already chosen to mostly remain in an unconscious, primitive, superstitious state of mind, and began rejecting the reasoned approach to live as the early philosophers demonstrated, before Socrates and his disciples came along to insist that acquiring happiness meant getting into ourselves, rather than seeking to understand the physical world around us. So let's jump ahead 2,100 years to the time of French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Although he is often counted among the Enlightenment Enlightenment philosophers, Rousseau should more rightly be considered a counter-Enlightenment thinker because of his rejection of and abhorrence of reason. A primary characteristic, perhaps the primary characteristic of Enlightenment thinking, along with his disdain for science, individual rights, and freedom. Reason is what engenders egocentrism. Reason is what turns man upon himself, Rousseau said. Reason is what separates him from all that troubles him and afflicts him. In The Social Contract, Rousseau advocated for state religion instead. As philosopher Stephen Hicks succinctly explains, according to Rousseau, the state cannot pursue a policy of toleration for disbelievers, or even view religion as a matter of individual conscience. It absolutely must therefore reject the Enlightenment's dangerous notions of religious toleration and the separation of church and state. Does not sound like an Enlightenment philosopher to me. Instead of reason and facts and freedom of belief, which have reemerged during the Renaissance and flourished during the Enlightenment, Rousseau, like the ancient cynics, advocated for a return to what he believed was humanity's natural state, a state that had been ruined, in his belief, by civilization. Instead of reason, he based his beliefs on his feeling that God exists. Suffused with the sense of my inadequacy, he said, I shall never reason about the nature of God. Ignoring the Enlightenment philosophers, he said, I took another guide, and I said to myself, let us consult this inner light. It will lead me astray less than they lead me astray. See, this is getting off track here, but if I were going to write a book about philosophy, it would be Why Most Philosophy Isn't. You have countless examples of people who are counted as great philosophers who say they hate philosophy, and in fact do not sound like philosophers. So maybe someday, because I want to piss off the philosophical world too. Just about got everybody else. Where was I? Yeah, so he said, let me consult this inner light, which will lead me astray less than they lead me astray. One may very well agree with me about this, or one may very well argue, I should say, with me about this, but I sense it. And this sentiment that speaks to me is stronger than the reason combating it. And this is how endarkenments begin. This is how endarkenments begin, by choosing to ignore what reason and science tell us about the world outside ourselves in favor of our own unconscious desires, emotions, and primitive beliefs. Let's get back to nature. Like the cynics, Rousseau blamed humanity's problem on the emergence, again, of civilization. As Hicks further explains, Rousseau started his attack at the foundation of the Enlightenment project, reason. The philosophs, as they were called, were exactly right that reason is the foundation of civilization, he said. Civilization's rational progress, however, is anything but progress, for civilization is achieved at the expense of morality. Culture does generate much learning, luxury, and sophistication, but learning, luxury, and sophistication all cause moral degradation. The root of moral degradation is reason, the original sin of humankind. Indeed, it was Rousseau who gave us the idea of the noble savage, the idealized human being driven by an innate goodness that is uncorrupted by civilization. Recognizing, however, that we cannot return to nature, we must recreate its conditions by eliminating reason, along with freedom and tolerance, and imposing the will of the state or the sovereign upon its citizens so that they are loyal to it and to the collective. Bertrand Russell says Rousseau's social contract can be stated as each of us puts his person and all his power in common under the supreme direction of the general will. And in our corporate capacity, we receive each member as an indivisible part of the whole. Being someone who abandoned sound reason, Rousseau easily argued that it was right to execute those who disagree with the collective will, as expressed by the sovereign, and that by creating such a harsh society, it would somehow restore civilized man's natural freedom. Whosoever refuses to obey the general will be forced to do so by the entire body, he said. This means merely that he will be forced to be free. Arguing that it's possible to force someone to be free is as illogical as saying 3 gods are the same as 1 God. But such is the kind of thinking resulting from sentiment rather than reason. All of this sprang from Rousseau's presumption that natural man, the noble savage, was better and purer than civilized human beings. The following is his perhaps less poetic version of Mother Nature's son. I see him satisfying his hunger under an oak, quenching his thirst at the first stream, finding his bed under the same tree which provided his meal, and behold, his needs are furnished. Now, he saw that, of course, in his mind's eye. He didn't actually see it in reality. To him, like the cynics and perhaps like those today fleeing to the cities on weekends and vacations to overcrowded forests and lakes and national parks, natural man had an easy, happy life. Yet domesticated men, like domesticated animals, says Rousseau, grow soft, whereas in the state of nature they are fit because they have to be fit in order to survive. Sitting underneath the oak tree all day that provided you your meal somehow needed to be fit. But is this so, or is it part of an idealized, romanticized belief in the good old days that never really existed? In his book, The Rational Optimist, Matt Ridley calls our modern image of the noble savage, our healthy, happy hunter-gathering ancestors, a Rousseau-esque ideal, explaining that the data which is inconvenient to our nostalgic myths indicates that the great majority of hunter-gatherers were in near constant states of tribal warfare. 30% of adult males died from homicide, killed with spears and darts and arrows. The victors often abducted women who survived their deaths. They were also subject to famines and had to resort to infanticide often in difficult times. And a variety of untreatable diseases and parasites shortened their lives and made many suffer miserably. In his book, Enlightenment Now, Harvard professor Steven Pinker considers the romanticized version of our prehistoric ancestors part of the counter-enlightenment, the movement by some, including many academics, to reject, as he puts it, reason, science, humanism, and progress. Pinker describes them as tribalist rather than cosmopolitan, authoritarian rather than democratic, contemptuous of experts rather than respectful of knowledge, and nostalgic for an idyllic past rather than hopeful for a better future. Of the movement itself, he says, no sooner did people step into the light than they were advised that darkness wasn't so bad after all. And they should stop daring to understand so much, that dogmas and formulas deserved another chance, and that human nature's destiny was not progress but decline. Pinker calls this disdain for civilization, and especially the advances and improvements in the human condition it represents, progressophobia, which he says has become widespread, the skepticism regarding Western progress that was once confined to a very small number of intellectuals in the 19th century, he explains, citing the work of sociologist Robert Nesbitt, has grown and spread to not merely the large majority of intellectuals in this final quarter of the century, but to many millions of other people in the West. Yet in his best-selling 2011 book, The Better Angels of Our Nature, Pinker counters with the facts. In addition to pointing out that the pacification process was a 5-fold reduction in the rate of death from tribal raiding and feuding, the consequence of effective states exerting control over a territory, he tells us the civilizing process was a 40-fold reduction in homicide and other violent crimes which followed upon the entrenchment of the rule of law and norms of self-control in early modern Europe. The humanitarian revolution is another name for the Enlightenment era abolition of slavery, religious persecution, and cruel punishments. The long peace is the historian's term for the decline of great power and interstate war after World War II. Following the end of the Cold War, the world has enjoyed a new peace with fewer civil wars, genocides, and atrocities. And since the 1950s, the world has been swept by a cascade of rights, revolutions, civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, children's rights, and animal rights. Yet the negativity bias, as he calls it, convinces many of us that things are worse today than ever, and only getting worse. We prefer to romanticize how much better it was and easier it was in the past, when it wasn't. In the forests and jungles, where it wasn't. And we do so by subjugating reason, science, and facts to our nostalgic sentiments and imaginations, which we aggrandize as faith and spirituality and the like. But in addition to rejecting reason, the common disdain for human civilization also rejects something else about human beings we have considered true for thousands of years, that we are fundamentally social animals. We need each other and need to be with each other. So we create societies, and societies become civilizations. The lone noble savage, akin to the romanticized, rugged individual, do not reflect who we really are or ever were. Born utterly dependent upon the affections and care of others due to a helpless infancy and vulnerable childhood that lasts years beyond any other creature. One of the first things to develop in a human infant's brain is mirror neurons, those structures that enable us to imitate and learn from the expressions and behaviors of others. When we become adults, this dependency and learning becomes cooperation, sharing, trading, romance, love, family, and friendship, all of which must happen in the context of society, of a civilized society. And that's what civilization is, a huge human family. And I'm not suggesting we shouldn't enjoy pristine nature when we can and preserve and protect it for our own sake, if no one else's. I'm pointing out that life is better today than ever, despite some of the big problems that we have created and the challenges we must face and learn to overcome together, including the natural catastrophe that is upon us. If we do overcome them, it won't be by faith in the past or in myths or returning to a primitive state or anything else, but by applying sound reason and science in order to continue our progress. If living in the forest were so much easier and better, why are there so many of us rushing to live in our already overcrowded cities? Why, sadly, are there so many homeless people trying to survive on our streets rather than in the woods and mountains? Let me conclude by citing words spoken by Barack Obama in 2016 to the people of Greece, where cynicism was born. If you had to choose a moment in history to be born, and you did not know ahead of time who you would be, you didn't know whether you were going to be born into a wealthy family or a poor family, what country you'd be born in, whether you were going to be a man or a woman, if you had to blindly choose what moment you'd want to be born, you'd choose now.
Please stand. Join me for Wake Now, My Senses, number 298. Doing verses 1, 3, and 5. Wake now, my senses, and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
For the benediction, the words of Thomas More. An enchanted life has many moments when the heart is overwhelmed by beauty and the imagination is electrified by some haunting quality in the world, or by a spirit or voice speaking from deep within a thing, a place, or a person. As mystics of many religions have taught, that sense of rapturous union can give a sensation of fulfillment that makes life purposeful and vibrant. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.
Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom, Shalom.